So. This is my sign name. So I'm hard of hearing, I am oral, and I also use sign language. I've grown up like that. And when I was 2 years old, I found out that I was deaf. I had gone deaf. So the doctor and the parents wanted to find out what had happened. Was it a sickness or what they didn't know? But what they think might have happened, and they did inform me, is that when I was 2 years old, I did have a bad fall. This place like outside our house, it was like a bit of a hole, and I got the scar on my head from this big fall. And so they found out that I was deaf after that, and so I went to a school for the deaf, and that was St. Vincent's, and that's where I grew up in the hostel. And I used to go home on weekends, and then during the week I'd be in the hostel at school. And I learned so many things, just like at any other school. I learned sports and maths, English, art, all these different subjects. And I was also very involved in sports and like volleyball and swimming and all these different competitions and groups that I was in. I was very involved, and I was like quite a good team member. So that was my life growing up, and I did find some matches and challenges. So when I was finished matric, I worked as an admin clerk, and I did that for 1.5 years, and then later I got involved in different work, like teaching sign language or sign songs, a bit of education and things like that. And now I'm focusing on 2 things. One of them is teaching. I really have a goal that I would like to follow and try and see if in my future I can teach English. I'd really like to get qualified in that so that I can do that and teach. Or number 2 is psychology. So I'm kind of a bit torn between those 2, and I haven't quite decided yet, so we'll see. And then also I'm involved in High Hopes, of course, and so I teach parents sign language. If their child is deaf and they've lost their hearing, they don't really know what to do with their child. So our program really does help parents, and they know, and help them to decide which channel to take, how to focus on their child, and how to help. So because in High Hopes, it's really good, and we're really like good role models, and we teach them how to work with themselves to help bond with their families. And that we don't want families to have bad communication with each other. We want them to be able to really communicate and bond with each other. And that's why High Hopes is really such a big help for children who are deaf, and it really helps with their future communication as well. At this age they're still young. When they're older, it's difficult to teach them how to communicate, but it's good that we get them when they're still young. So that's my life story for now.
My life story. My name is Dominique, Dominic. My surname is Petersen, is Petersen. My age is 42 years old. I am married to Adrian. We met at Petikumu School. We are married 15 years. We have 2 boys, age 19 and 15 years old. Name Dyan, Dylan, 19, and Jaden, Jaden, age 15. My mommy became sick when pregnant with me. That's why I am hard of hearing. I am studying in Cape Town College, teaching level 4. I NCF certificate. This year, I will be doing level 5 grade R. I am proud to say this year I will be working with High Hope 3 years. I am very happy to teaching families sign language. In 2 weeks, I can see improvement with the families doing signs. That makes me happy. Thank you, High Hope. Love you.
So, I was born in the September of 1984. I was born with my twin brother, and his name is Vuyo, and this is his sign name. So we lived in the Eastern Cape in a place called Beaufort West. So I was born to my parents, who were very good people, and I grew up and I used to love working with farm animals, cows, sheep, goats and everything, all the different animals. I was really good with them and I loved working with them. We had them at home. So at one stage my parents had a few problems, and so my parents' names were, my mom's name is Noluthando, Pinky, and her surname is Ponde. So we ended up moving and we changed our lives and we went to go stay with my grandparents, and I carried on growing up there. So at that time it was time to go to school, so we went to a school just in the area, and the school was a good one. But so I started off in sub A, and I was involved in the class, everything was fine. I continued, I moved up to sub B, also went very well. I moved on to standard 1, also carried on doing very well, moved up to standard 2 and progressed to standard 3. Oh, and this is where things started happening. My normal life wasn't going to carry on like that. This is when my challenges started. I loved sport, running, rugby and soccer. I had 3 favorite sports. I was really good at them and I was really involved with them. But in 1994, something happened. I was in class. I was sitting there being a good boy, minding my own business and watching the teacher, listening well. It was obviously, he was teaching the subjects or whatever. And all of a sudden, just suddenly, something happened and I couldn't hear anymore. I couldn't understand what was going on. Hearing people sitting around me were tapping me, saying, "Why aren't you writing notes?" And I was like, what is going on? I could see the teacher was talking, but I didn't understand what was going on. I was missing everything. My friends were telling me to write, so I was trying to write, and I was sort of looking at them and pretending. And when the teacher sort of spoke to me, I looked at him with like this, and I said I couldn't hear him. And the teacher just carried on teaching. And I looked at the people around me and they were all laughing at me. They thought maybe I was joking, but I really wasn't. This was something very serious. So later on, the teacher thought, you're going to go to the office. You're going to go see the principal. You're going to go talk to the principal because I don't know what's going on here. So off I went, and I went to the office. And the principal didn't really understand either, and he started asking me questions, and I sat down with him and he wanted to know what was going on. So he asked me what happened in class, and the principal saw me and I said, I don't understand what's going on, I still feel the same way. And he said, okay. So his name was Mbombozi. And he called another teacher. And this other teacher's name was Sylvia. So the two of them went with me to the sister, and the sister had a look at my ears and she said, okay, let's take him to the clinic. So off I went to the clinic, and whew, wow, this was not an easy experience. This was not easy for me to find this information, what happened next. So the doctor was having a look inside my ears, and what did he find? Leaves. He found a whole bunch of leaves and dirt, because I used to love swimming in the river. It was so hot where I lived. It was very, very hot. And so we would often swim and have fun in the rivers, and this is how I became deaf. So the doctor explained to me that I had a problem inside my ears with my eardrums. So normally eardrums sit like this, okay, but mine were like this. So it means that I really couldn't hear. Wind was going through my eardrums. So sometimes if I held my hand over my ear, I could hear a little bit better, but without it I really couldn't, and so it really depended. So the doctor wrote a really lengthy report about my situation, and he made it into a letter and he sent it back to the principal of the school. And this had become a very tragic thing. I was actually really crying. Got back to the principal's office and I was feeling very depressed. I mean, my life had really gone down. I was feeling very down about this. The principal had a read of this report and he was very shocked. And so he called my teacher. And the teacher also read the report and was also very shocked. And I could see that everyone was quite heartbroken about this, and we didn't really know what to do next. So the teacher wanted to call my parents, but at that time my parents were working in Johannesburg. So they called my grandmother, and she came and took me home, and she shared with me, and I told her what had happened, and she read the report also, so she could understand what was going on. So I stayed there until about August, when my mom came and she took me to a school for the deaf. And the school for the deaf is called St. Thomas School for the Deaf. And I got in there, and wow, now I just faced even more challenges. I didn't know sign language. I had no knowledge of sign language. So yeah, I mean, at that time I could still hear a little bit, and I didn't know sign language structure or anything like that. And there were other children in the school who were oral or hard of hearing, but in the hostel it was all signing. So I needed to learn how to sign for the hostel, for the dining area, for the playground. I was in a lot of shock. This was a really big challenge. I needed to learn complete language. I mean, the whole day, full time, was just sign language. I had to literally learn it all from scratch, and I was watching. I would say it took me about a week to take it all in and to start learning to sign, because of the hostel, because of being involved in all these different places, in sports, in class, in hostel. I mean, I was just completely immersed, and so I was able to pick it up really quickly. And so at that time, when school closed and I had to go back home, my mom would try to talk to me, and I was like, oh no, and I just signed right back to her. This was my favorite thing to do. She tried to force me to speak, and I said no, I was going to sign. And from then on, my life did get better. With my hearing friends that I'd had before, the friend circle started to dwindle. I had to keep putting my hand on my ear, asking them to repeat themselves again and again, and I lost those friends. We drifted apart. So yeah, I had very few of those friends left over. It was just so hard to keep having to repeat things and trying to understand, but my life has improved otherwise. Thank you.